Boys and Fantasy Addicts, and this is the start and sit 'em for Week 5. First game up, Tennessee and Baltimore.
Tennessee. I like Lindell White this week. Baltimore is extremely good against the run.
Right.
So I say they shut down Chris Johnson.
Well,
But, however, I think Tennessee can move the ball with Kerry Collins through the air.
right.
And when they get in the red zone, guess who's getting the rock? Lindell White.
I do like Derek Mason and your man Gage in this game. Flacco looked really composed on Monday night.
At times.
Really composed.
At times.
Yeah, he didn't throw a pick. He did fumble it once, but he didn't throw a pick. You know, Pittsburgh's D is nice.
Yeah.
You know,
They've
and
got a
so
strong defense.
he's a one-man show. He's the only one who caught balls. I think he'll do it again. Wiley Vet. Last year, he averaged like 8-9 catches a game.
The next game, we have Kansas City and Carolina.
Kansas City, that was a fluke. But that doesn't mean the Chiefs don't have fantasy value. I like Dwayne Bowe. I like Tony Gonzalez because they're going to have to put the ball in there. Damon Heward is more reliable than Thigpen. So, you know, aside from them, you know, I like the Carolina run game. I like John Stewart.
I agree with you there. I like Dwayne Bowe, T-Gons, and I like from Carolina Steve Smith and Jonathan Stewart.
Yep, me too.
So we agree on this one. I don't say sit Larry Johnson. He's not a definite sit, but I don't call him a start this week.
I do. I'll say sit Larry Johnson. He had
Sit Larry?
200 yards last week, and I'll say sit him. Still LJ, still the Chiefs. They had one big week. He had a couple big runs.
Well, I just think he's up against it going against the Panthers defense this week.
Next game is Chicago Bears, your boys, and the Detroit Lions, my boys. I think it's going to be a big week for your guys, man. Matt Forte.
I love Forte.
Explode. Forte is going to go to work. They're going to be up on Detroit. They're going to run the ball on Detroit. That doesn't mean Detroit won't score. I like Calvin Johnson and Roy Williams in this game. You can pass on the Bears.
I agree with you on half of that.
Yeah.
I like Roy Williams this week.
Yeah.
I think the Bears are going to put a lot of attention on Calvin.
Yeah.
And you can't completely shut Calvin down, but I don't see him having a great game.
Yeah.
I could see Roy's, getting in the end zone once, maybe twice.
Right. You know, my guys are going to be getting beat up enough to have to just gun it. I think they're going to be bombing. And so Kevin Smith got sat down for Rudy Johnson. Sit both of them. Detroit can't run the ball on the Bears.
Next game, Atlanta versus Green Bay.
I really like Roddy White in this game. I think Green Bay is going to beat him up. They're going to be playing from behind, airing the ball out. He's kind of emerged.
The only guys I like this week from Green Bay would be Jennings.
Yeah.
And I actually like Ryan Grant to bounce back with a big game this week.
I'm right there with you. Atlanta hasn't stopped anybody on the ground. But I say sit Michael Turner. I said sit him last week. I say sit him this week. Against good defenses, he struggles. It's that simple.
All right, next game we have San Diego and Miami. San Diego's looking better and better each week. They're starting to get it together.
I still like Ronnie Brown. It's not just because he had 5 touchdowns, but I think the fact that he had 5 just proved that they're willing to use him in a lot of different ways in that offense.
I say start all your Chargers. Maybe leave out Vincent Jackson this week, but start anyone else you have from the Chargers. It should be a huge game from LT this week.
Huge. Next game is Indy versus Houston.
All right, for Indianapolis, I like Reggie Wayne and Joseph Adai.
I even like Marvin Harrison this week, man. Houston has been pretty wretched on defense. And, they went deep to Marvin a couple times and missed it by, that much. But that's what 36-year-old receivers do. I think they're going to have gotten that timing down over the bye week. Houston will cure a lot of offensive woes for a lot of teams. But I still like Steve Slayton. Indy can't stop anybody on the ground, ever.
Without Bob Sanders,
Yep.
they're terrible against the run.
They're terrible. They're terrible against the run with Bob Sanders. Without him there,
Worse.
worse.
And in the next game, we have Seattle against the Giants.
Minus Plaxico Burress. Burress got suspended for not showing up for work. He's gone. Amani Toomer could see some balls.
I like Toomer this week. I think, he's going to be Eli's go-to guy with Plaxico out for this next game. I say sit Julius Jones this week. In fact, I say if you have anyone from Seattle, sit him this week.
All right, next game is Washington and Philadelphia.
I say the only guy you start this week from Philly is Deshaun Jackson.
Deshaun Jackson's explosive. He seems to make one dumb play every week and then look real sad on the sideline for a while, but he bounces back. He's a tough kid.
So what about the Redskins?
So I like Chris Cooley to bounce back this week, have a better game. I think Philly's going to give up some points. It's going to be high scoring, and he's got to throw to somebody. I know you don't like Santana Moss.
I don't like Moss this week. He's going up against Asante Samuel, and he's one of the premier cornerbacks in the NFL. Well, I see Portis and Cooley actually getting most of the work this week. Yeah, I think the Eagles have two really good corners, and I think that takes away the production from the two Redskins receivers.
Next game is Tampa Bay, Denver.
Denver's defense hasn't been able to stop anybody so far.
In the air or on the ground. I love Ernest Graham in this game. I got Bryant as a start. I got Greasy as a start. I mean, Denver's defense is just bad. They just lost to Kansas City.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So, but I do like Brandon Marshall. Every week, start Brandon Marshall.
You have to start Marshall, Cutler.
I like Scheffler, too. Tampa Bay has that really nice pass D, that good corners, that real nice cover, too. But Scheffler in the middle, when you play the cover, too, you got to go to the middle of the field. Sit all the Denver running backs as usual.
All right, next game, we have Buffalo and Arizona.
I really like Lee Evans in this game. They just gave up 6 touchdowns to Brett, and Trent Edwards is not Brett. But, still, Lee Evans he's been producing this
He's
year.
Explosive.
He's been producing. Caught that nice long ball.
In Arizona, they couldn't cover anybody last week. Nope. So that's a good call this week. Go with Lee Evans.
If Bolden isn't there, start Steve Breston. I like that. He had a ton of yards last game with Anquan there.
I say you sit edge.
I agree. He had 2 touchdowns last week. I was psyched. I scooped him on the waiver wire in that little shallow league we have. But he went like 30 yards again. That's pathetic. Cincinnati and Dallas. Cincinnati making the most questionable move I have ever heard of. Picking up Ced Benson today.
Cedric Benson?
It is like an AA meeting up in that locker room.
They just went from bad to worse. Cincinnati is playing Dallas at the worst possible time. They're coming off a loss against a division foe.
Mad.
Exactly. And I say Dallas beats the brakes off of Cincinnati.
Like 48-12, 15, something like that. Something nasty.
It might be worse than that.
It might be worse.
But for that reason, I say you start everybody from the Cowboys this week. And the only guy I like from Cincinnati is TJ.
But he will get it to TJ. Fitzpatrick can throw it about 12, 14 yards down the field. TJ stays in that little radius.
Next game, we got New England against San Francisco.
I think New England's going to, come out and dominate San Francisco, basically. They had the bye week. You don't give Bill Belichick 2 weeks to figure out San Francisco.
I like Randy Moss this week, but I think Welker is taking a real hit with Brady not being there. Yeah. Start Moss, but sit Welker.
I don't like any of the running backs in New England. Lawrence Maroon supposedly coming back. Last week or 2 weeks ago, Sammy Moore's had his big shot at being the guy that failed for me. And so I said forget all of them.
All right, and the Sunday night game, we have Pittsburgh and Jacksonville.
Pittsburgh's in trouble. They lost Rashard Mendenhall. Willie Parker's not going to be back. They lost their other guard.
And I see this being a low-scoring game.
Oh, yeah.
And for that reason, I say my only 2 starts are Hines Ward from Pittsburgh and David Garrard from Jacksonville.
Yeah.
I don't like the Jacksonville running backs this week. I just think Pittsburgh's D is playing outstanding right now. Well, Fred Taylor had a huge game against Pittsburgh last year.
Right.
But I don't see him repeating.
That was in December. Only ever start Fred Taylor in December. Right. The Monday night game this week is Minnesota and New Orleans. This is like bizarro world of passing attack versus a running attack. I think Drew Brees is going to go to work on Minnesota. They're averaging scoring damn near 30 a game.
Well, they won't be able to run the ball.
They don't run it anyway. They don't even try.
They have to pass the ball.
Yep.
And I say start Reggie Bush.
Yeah.
I think Bush will get a lot of looks out of the backfield. They'll put him out at receiver.
Oh, yeah.
And I think he'll create mismatch problems for the Vikings.
Yeah, but, Deuce had 76 and a touch. Don't even think about it in Minnesota. Deuce is going to get balled up. He'll get hurt. They're going to put up 300 yards in the air. Somebody's got to catch him. Shockey's out. Colston's still out. He'll be back in like 2 weeks. Even David Patton is out, leaving Lance Moore, who looks like a fluke from last week. But he's the guy. He's the number 1. And Drew Brees is going to find him. Well, that's it. That's the stardom sit-em for week 5. Hit us at thefantasyaddicts@gmail.com or go check out the website at thefantasyaddicts.com.
It's a wrap.